Hello students, welcome back in English class. Students, in our last two sessions, we have read The 100 Dresses Part 1 from our syllabus, chapter number 5, and this chapter is written by Ilya Noor S. The 100 Dresses is a story based on the real experiences of the writer. And this chapter is about a girl who is teased by her classmates. This girl, the protagonist of this chapter, Wanda Petronsky, who always claims for having 100 dresses. Her classmates always made fun of her, as her claim was in the contradiction to the fact that she always came to school wearing the same blue faded one dress. Her classmate assumed her name to be funny because she was a Polish immigrant. Her name was not common. She came to an American town as a Polish immigrant with her family. The truth about her 100 dresses revealed when she submitted her all 100 different drawings in a drawing competition. They were the same 100 dresses that she used to describe often. All of those dresses were extremely, immensely beautiful. And now, in continuation of the previous lesson, the 100 Dresses Part 2 reveals why Wanda Petronsky had not been coming to school. The Petronsky family decided to move on a big city. What was the reason? Where no one would care about their unfamiliar name. On hearing the note, Maddie and Peggy got anxious as they realized that they would never get a chance for making amends for all the teasing they had done. Both the girls get relieved only on learning that Wanda liked them and had dedicated one of the 100 dresses to each one of them. So our last story, the 100 Dresses 1, was finished at the point where Wanda submitted 100 dresses in a drawing contest, and she was the winner of the drawing contest. So students, let's start our discussion by reading of the chapter. While the class was circling the room, the monitor from the principal's office brought Miss Mason a note. Miss Mason read it several times and studied it thoughtfully for a while. Then she clapped her hands. Attention class, everyone back to their seat. When the shuffling of the feet had stopped and the room was still and quiet, Miss Mason said, I have a letter from Wenda's father that I want to read to you. Miss Mason stood there a moment and the silence in the room grew tense and expectant. The teacher adjusted her glasses slowly and deliberately. Her manner indicated that what was coming. This letter from Wanda's father was a matter of great importance. Everybody listened closely as Miss Mason read the brief note. Dear teacher, my Wanda will not come to your school anymore. Jake also. Now we move away to big city. No more holler Polak. No more ask why funny name. Plenty of funny names in big city. Yours truly, Jane Petronsky. A deep silence met the reading of this letter. Miss Mason took off her glasses, blew on them and wiped them on her soft white handkerchief. Then she put them on again and looked at the class. When she spoke, her voice was very low. I'm sure that none of the boys and girls in room 13 would purposely and deliberately hurt anyone's feelings because his or her name happened to be long, unfamiliar one. I prefer to think that what was said in thoughtlessness. I know that all of you feel the way I do, that this is a very unfortunate thing to have happened. unfortunate and sad, both. And I want you all to think about it. The first period was a study period. Maddie tried to prepare her lessons, but she could not put her mind on her work. She had a very sick feeling in the bottom of her stomach. True, she had not enjoyed listening to Peggy ask Wenda how many dresses she has had her in her closet, but she had said nothing. She had stood by silently, and that was just as bad as what Peggy had done. Worse, she was a coward. At least Peggy had not considered they were being mean, but she, Maddie, had thought they were doing wrong. She could put herself in Wanda's shoes. Goodness, wasn't there anything she could do? If only she could tell Wanda she had not meant to hurt her feelings. She turned around and stole a glance at Peggy, but Peggy did not look up. She seemed to be studying hard. Well, whether Peggy felt badly or not, Maddie, had to do something. She had to find Wanda Petronsky. Maybe she had not yet moved away. Maybe Peggy would climb the heights with her, and they would tell Wanda she had won the contest, that they thought she was smart and the 100 dresses were beautiful. So, students, the results were announced by the teacher, and Wanda Petronsky was the winner of the contest. All drawings made by her were immensely beautiful. Everyone was having a look at the amazing drawings Wanda had drawn and admiring it when the monitor of the class brought a piece of note for Miss Mason, the class teacher. Miss Mason read that note multiple times, as she couldn't believe what was written in it. Finally, she decided to gather the class to read it aloud and clear. It was a letter from Wanda Petronsky's dad. She silenced for a while, which created tension in the minds of her students. Everybody in the class was thinking that what was inside the letter and whose letter it was. She adjusted her spectacles while made it clear how important that note is. She began reading it, and everyone listened very intensely, very carefully. The letter began with a salutation to Miss Mason. Wanda's father conveyed his intention of not sending both of his children, Wanda and Jake. Jake might be the brother of Wanda's, to school anymore. He mentioned that they were shifting to another city, a big one where no one would care enough about their strange name. A big city with a lot of people having weird names. A big city where open minded people live. So Wanda's classmate thought her name was weird and funny, and they awfully humiliate Wanda for her name, for her weird name. So Wanda was a Polish immigrant to America and thus had an unfamiliar name. So a deep silence met the reading of this letter. So in the letter, the word written was Holler Polak. Holler means to shout loudly, and Polak Polak word is for the inhabitants of the Poland. So he said no more Holler Polak. In the class, everybody was so serious. There was a uneasy silence in the class. A deep silence met the reading of this letter. Miss Mason took off her glasses, blew on them, and wiped them on her soft white handkerchief. Then she put them on again and looked at the class. When she spoke, her voice was very low. So, after hearing what was there in that letter, everyone was left speechless. Miss Mason, she was stunned, and thus she cleaned her glasses, wore them again. When she comes to know the reality, what was going on in the class, it was unbelievable for her. She wore her glasses again and spoke to the class in a very low voice. She conveyed her disappointment to the class students and asked them to ensure her that nothing was done purposefully to hurt Wanda. She gave the children benefit of doubt that everything they did was done unintentionally. She said whatever happened was sad and really unfortunate. She advised the students to introspect about it, that what happened and why, and who was responsible for all that. Everyone in the class began thinking about what was written in that letter and how each one of them made Wanda feel like that. In their first period, Maddie could not concentrate on her studies. Maddie, she was feeling so tormented. Maddie's head was reeling and she was feeling so drained and she couldn't concentrate on her studies as she felt sick for not stopping Peggy at the right time. Had, had she stopped Peggy from playing that dress game with Wanda, things could have been different. Although Maddie never teased Wanda, but nor did she stop Peggy from doing all that, which makes her just as bad as, maybe worse than Peggy. Peggy's intention were never hurt. Peggy's intention were never to hurt Wanda. And she was not aware that her game hurt her feeling. What she was doing, she was totally unaware from all that feelings. But Maddie, on the other hand, was aware of its impact. Yet she stood silent. She made her a coward for not standing against what's wrong. Filled with guilt and regret, Maddie wished for a chance to apologize to Wanda, hoping Peggy would be thinking about Wanda too. She takes a look at Peg, but she was busy studying. Regardless of what Peggy was thinking, Maddie decided to take some action. She hoped Wanda had not yet moved away and she could tell her how sorry she was and appreciate her all 100 dresses. Maddie felt so bad that she couldn't concentrate on her studies. It was impossible for her to concentrate and to do the things normally after knowing all the facts. She wanted to meet Wanda immediately and to clarify her that she never meant to hurt her feelings. When school was dismissed in the afternoon, Peggy said, with pretended casualness, "Hey, let's go and see if that kid has left town or not." So Peggy had had the same idea. Maddie glowed. Peg was really all right. The two girls hurried out of the building, up the street toward Bogin Heights, the part of town that wore such a forbidding air on this kind of November afternoon, drizzly, damp, and dismal. "Well, at least," said Peggy gruffly, "I never did call her a foreigner or make fun of her name. I never thought she had the sense to know we were making fun of her anyway. I thought she was too dumb. And gee, look how she can draw." Maddie could say nothing. All she hoped was that they would find Wanda. She wanted to tell her that they were sorry they had picked on her and how wonderful the whole school thought she was. And please not to move away, and everybody would be nice. She and Peggy would fight anybody who was not nice. The two girls hurried on. They hoped to get to the top of the hill before dark. "I think that's where the Petronsky live," said Maddie, pointing to a little white house. Wisps of old grass stuck up here and there along the pathway like thin kittens. The house and its sparse little yard looked shabby but clean. It reminded Maddie of Wanda's one dress, her faded blue cotton dress, shabby but clean. There was not a sign of the life about the house. Peggy knocked firmly on the door, but there was no answer. She and Maddie went around to the backyard and knocked there. Still, there was no answer. There was no doubt about it. The Petronskis were gone. How could they ever make amends? They they turned slowly, made their way back down the hill. Well, anyway, said Peggy, she's gone now, so what can we do? Besides, when I was asking her about all her dresses, she probably was getting good ideas for her drawings. She might not even have won the contest otherwise. Maddie turned this idea carefully over in her head, for if there were anything in it, she would not have to feel so badly. But that night she couldn't get to sleep. She thought about Wanda and her faded blue dress and the little house she had lived in. And she thought of the glowing picture, those 100 dresses made, all lined up in the classroom. At last Maddie sat up in bed and pressed her forehead tight in her hands and really thought. This was the hardest thinking she had ever done. After a long, long time, she reached an important conclusion. She was never going to stand up, she was never going to stand by and say nothing again. If she ever heard anybody picking on someone because they were funny looking or because they had strange names, she would speak up. Even if it meant losing Peggy's friendship. She had no way of making things right with Wanda, but from now on, she would never make anybody else that unhappy again. So that day, after the school had ended, Peggy asked Maddie if they could go and check if Wanda has moved or not. Maddie was satisfied at the thought that they both had same plans of apologizing to Wanda. Both of them hurried to Bogin Heights, the place where Wanda lived in order to find her. During this season, the place was generally wet and the atmosphere was sad and hopeless. And the environment nearby the Wanda's house was also so sad. It was like there was a sadness sprinkled everywhere. Peggy tries to comfort herself by murmuring that at least she did not call her a foreigner because she was an immigrant. So here, Peggy tried to cover up all her deeds by just giving the lame excuses. Neither did she make her feel different for having an unfamiliar name. She was always in this delusion that Wanda had no idea that those girls were making fun of her. Above all, Wanda is such a great artist too. Maddie, on the other hand, couldn't say a word. She was aware of the reality. What she hoped for is a chance to confess, make amends, appreciate her, and try to stop her from moving away. In fact, she even thought of conveying her idea to protect Wanda if anyone tried to trouble her. In order to reach the place before night, they hurriedly went up to the hills. They saw a white little house up there, which they thought was the place where Wanda Petronskis lived. The house and its surrounding were shabby but clean, just like Wanda's worn out blue dress. And thin bunches of grass grew along the path that led to the house. They resembled like thin kittens. No one could be seen around the house. So there was not a sign of life in the house because there was nobody in the house. They knocked both at the front and at the back gate, but to their disappointment there was no answer. Now the Petrovskis had gone, and along with them Maddie and Peggy's last chance to make amends too. In order to comfort herself, Peggy again started saying that Wanda must have looked for drawing inspiration only after she started her dresses game. And had not she done that, Wanda would have never won the drawing competition. But Maddie was doomed. Maddie also tried to convince her after what Peggy said, and that if this is the case, she doesn't have to feel so bad. But internally her conscience was burdened. Later that night, she couldn't sleep as she was thinking constantly about Wanda's little house, her faded blue dress, both shabby but clean, and her glorious 100 dresses that were all lined up in the classroom instead of the closet. Finally, she sat in her bed and started thinking deeply. The hardest she would ever gone, the hardest she had ever done. She pressed her forehead tight in her hands, which indicated that she was really trying to concentrate. After thinking so hard, so much, so deeply, she came to a conclusion that she will always stand against the wrongs and will never say nothing when she has to. She decided that she would never let anyone make fun of others because of their appearances, their name, their clothes, or where they come from. She took a firm decision at that moment. She would not shy to speak up against Peggy, even if it meant losing her friendship. She couldn't go in the past to make amends with Wanda, no matter how much she wanted to. But from now on, she is never going to let another person feel embarrassed or unhappy again. So, guys, we have discussed the half of the chapter. Now, we'll meet in our next session to find out the conclusion of the story, and we will discuss the theme of this chapter too. And till then, take care of yourself, do more and more hard work every day. Thank you.